Good day, everyone. Willie here at the Great Outdoors. What are we talking about today? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. We've had some questions come in, and I have been answering some questions every chance I get. What is the question about today, you may ask yourself? Well, don't ask yourself because you don't know. Ask me. Oh, I'm glad you asked. It is about underspins. That's right. Fly rods and Johnson reels. So if you don't want to talk about the green reel, now's the chance to just go away. I'm just kidding, don't go away. I'll tell you what, you stay here and I'll go away. No, don't do that either. What we're going to talk about is using a Johnson underspin as an underspin, like a Century or a Citation on a fly rod. That was the question that I was asked. It came up as in, what reel do you use, what rod do you use, and what do you prefer out of all of that? Well, that's easy. The first thing we got to do is actually go into some history real quick. And the history is how all this began using fly rods as an underspin rod. It started in the 80s. To be honest with you, it started in the 1980s. I was looking for a way to be able to cast underneath the trees, shrubbery, bushes, whatever that was growing over the edge of a river or a creek, because I used to fish a lot of rivers and creeks back in the day. And what happened was I needed a way to do that other than using a spinning reel and a spinning rod. I use spinning reel, spinning rod for this type of thing and for underhand flipping. Well, every time that I would pull the line off, I like to pull the line off a little bit and get me some space to be able to flip. It's just a style, it's just a technique that I happen to enjoy doing. But every time I tried to do it and tried to hold the line, the coils of line on the spool would try to come off. And then you end up with line in the water and everything. It just got a little bit annoying. Not saying it didn't work, it just got a little bit annoying. So I wanted to have a better way. So enter the Zebco UL4 Classic. That's right. Or the trash can as we used to call it. Here's the thing, this is how I used it. Thanks to the little feather touch trigger of the UL4 Classic, I could take my little finger, grab the trigger, hold the line. I could pull out what line I wanted simply by letting go of the lever and then locking it back in place. Because the rotor pushes the line up against the cap on the inside, no coils came out. Nothing came out other than what I wanted to come out. Then, hey, I'm floating backwards. I could take and flip underneath of anything I wanted to. Underneath the trees, underneath the bushes, rocks, whatever was there that I thought I could get that thing under without all those coils of line coming out. I used this for an extremely long time. I had about 20 of these darn things. I just wore them slam out. This is the last one I got. So I kind of don't use it much anymore just because it's kind of sentimental to me. That's right, I have sentiment. I have a heart. Yeah, I do. So that's how it all began. That's where it started. Now, as I got older and got into my teens where I could drive myself, I didn't go to these rivers and creeks as much as I did. Now, my mom's family lived all in the mountains of Virginia, and that's where I learned to do this because I used to wade and walk a lot of creeks and rivers. So the fly rod thing kind of went to the side. Now, I kept that fly rod. I had it for years and just had it, got rid of the rods or got rid of the reels and the line and all that other fly rod stuff because I never used any of that stuff, but I kept the rod. Let's just fast forward up to right now. Let's just say within the last 3 years. When I started really buying a lot of vintage reels, the very first one that I got a hold of was one of these guys right here. That is a Johnson Century 100. Now, the 100 is a fairly simplistic yet versatile little reel. I tried using it as a normal upright spin cast. Well, if you notice, it's got what I call the quarter button. And I call it the quarter button because if you took 4 of these and put them together, it'd make a complete circle. So this is just 1/4 of what should be a circle. That's just the way I think. Using it as a regular spin cast, my thumb kept sliding off the button. And I was like, this is just not working. I love this thing. It's very smooth and it casts really far, but I'm just not digging the way it does this. Haha, I've got a fly rod sitting in the corner. You can reverse the retrieve. You can go from right to left on these things. I wonder if I could put it upside down and make an underspin spin cast reel out of it. Can you do that, you might say? You might say it. I did. Well, there you go. Bless my internal organs, it worked. That's right. I put it on there. I reversed it to a left-hand retrieve. Loved the little button after that. The little button was great because all you'd have to do is grab the line like a spinning reel, click your button. Whoo, whoo, whoo. That's right. You were the doggone Luke Skywalker of the river. I'm not kidding. You could cast this thing, flip it underneath, do all kinds of stuff with it. I was surprised. And man, with some 4 or 6 pound line, you could take a 1/16 ounce jig and blast this thing half a mile. It was awesome. You could sidearm this thing and just fling it out there. It was awesome for catching trout, bluegills, bobber fishing, whatever. I was having a blast with this darn thing. But then I caught a couple of big fish. Showed me where the Century 100 was a little bit inferior, okay? Here's your problem. This is the very first Century, okay? Notice the drag. It is nothing more than a little metal arrow from 1 to 6. There's no screw in the middle of there if you notice that, okay? That means from 1 to 6 is all you got. That's it. So I started looking around, started getting more into the Johnson stuff, started going, hey, wait a minute, I remember some that didn't have just a little arrow there. Hey, come out of there. Now, when you go out of the Johnson 100, it changes. If you go to the 110, straight 110, let me see, we got to have at least 7 of those laying around here somewhere. Here's one. This is the 110. The 110 Citation. There's a difference here, and it's not just size, okay? Yes, cap's bigger, spool's bigger, rotor's bigger. A little bit different there, but look at the drag. You have 1 through 8, and you got that screw in the middle there. Well, that screw makes all the difference in the world because now your drag is even more adjustable. That's right. You can take that, put it on 1, put you right on 1, you lift up on your faceplate right here. So you lift up on that, it's spring loaded. You got that screw. When you lift up, you put your flathead screwdriver in there, you hold it up with your fingers, you can turn that screw a couple of notches, dink, dink. Now you've got more drag than you had before. You're not bottomed out. If the fish you're catching are a little bit larger and you want more drag, you now have the ability to adjust it. You still have that small little button there, the quarter button. You have a clicker. You still have that. The 100 had that. You have this tubular style crank handle, which is okay. It's not the greatest. It doesn't feel the most comfortable in the world. But when you leave the 110 and the 100, you go into a dash series, okay? 110, 100-A. All right, let's take a look at one of those real quick. Now, I just so happens I have a 110-A. I do not have a 100-A. Don't hold that against me. Don't look at me bad. I'll get one somewhere. I'll try to find one. But here we have a 110-A. All right, still have your clicker, but now notice you have black side pieces. That's right, they're black, and you have a little bit more real estate there for your thumb and your forefinger on the crank arm. You still have your small button. You still have your adjustable drag. You lift up on the faceplate, you can adjust. So there you go. Underspin. You still have the ability to switch sides for right or left retrieve. You still have your anti-reverse. You can switch from right or left. Great on the fly rod. I'm not joking. Now, let's just jump up here for just a second. When you got out of the Dash series, you went to a straight A of a 110 and a 100, Citation and a Century. Let me show you real quick. Here's a Century 100A. No dash, okay? Forget the dash. The dash is gone. Dash is history now. Dash is out of here. 100A. Changed a little bit. Look at that. Dual handles. Still tubular though. But you end up with this bigger button, this concave button that your thumb fits in. Can this still be used on a fly rod? Yeah. Can this still be used as an underspin? Yes, it can. You don't have the clicker anymore. Clicker's gone out of here. History. but you have everything else. So can this still be an underspin? It can still be an underspin. You just have the bigger button. You still have the adjustment. You still have all that. So yes, when you get to the A, things change. Here we have a Citation 110A. See that? Still got all the same stuff. Still got the button there, the larger. It's, wow, that one really is amazing, to be honest with you. I like that. So now let's just say all you have is, say, a 110B maybe, or a 100B. Okay, let's move up to that real quick. This is my Citation 110B. Notice the changes. Hey, a little bit more room there, hold on to. You have a larger white button. You still have the ability to switch sides with your retrieve. You can still make it an underspin. No clicker anymore, of course the clicker's gone, but you still have the adjustment. Yes, it can still be an underspin if that's what you want it to be. I just don't do it because I like the smaller buttons for the underspins. I just like hitting that thing with my thumb and going on. When you have the larger buttons, I mean, there is a lot more there to hit. You got a lot more to get onto, but grabbing that small button and just clicking it and going, I like the smaller button. It's just my personal opinion. Now, you asked what I do, that's what I like doing. I prefer the smaller, either 100s, 110s, or dashes, the dash A's, okay? 110-A, 100-A. Almost sounds French. Dash A. Or is that a walk? That's how cowboys used to walk, isn't it? I'm gonna dash A on down to the OK Corral, and now that would probably have gotten you shot a lot quicker back then. So anyway, let's talk about the rod itself. If you have a 9-foot fly rod or whatever, 5-weight, 6-weight, whatever it is, can you use that? Yes, you can very well use it. It's not a problem with using it. It's just, you have to remember, the longer the rod, the more real estate you're taking up when it comes to casting. If you're around trees and bushes and things, you can get hooked up easy. If you're in tight quarters and you're trying to cast a 9-foot rod, really all you'll probably have is a little bit to the left or the right. You'd be doing like this, trying to cast the thing. It gets a little awkward. So I prefer to go into a 6-foot, in between 6 foot and 7 foot, 7'6", somewhere in there. That's about the basis of where I want to go. Because a lot of the places that I fish, there's a lot of trees and stuff around me. There's very little open area where I fish to be able to fling a fly rod, a 9-foot fly rod. So there you go. You can even, and I'm going to bring this up and I'm only going to cut on it real quick. You can even, if a 45th anniversary is all you can find. Yes, that's right, the 45th anniversary, the Chinese version of the 45th anniversary of the Johnson Century. You can use this as well if you find one. It still has the right and left retrieve for the anti-reverse. The button is even, really, it's actually a little bit easier to keep your fingers on than it is the slick white one. This will work. You can do that if you want to give it a try. Maybe you find a 45th anniversary cheap somewhere, you know, and that's a good place to start if you can't find one of the other ones. But you can use it either way. You can straight up and down spin cast, or you can flip it and underspin. There you go. So that's what I do. That's how I do it. That's where it all began, that kind of thing. That's the history of why Willie uses the Johnson's group series, certain ones, on a fly rod. That's how it worked out. Now also, this is a video for another time, Shakespeare and all of their different versions of underspins that are made specifically as underspins. But that's a whole nother video. But Shakespeare has a bunch of underspin reels. And in today's world, really all you have to choose from is a fly rod for those darn things, because way back in the day, Shakespeare used to make rods specifically for those reels, and that's just not being done anymore. And I'm not a vintage rod guy very much. You very seldom will ever see me use a vintage rod unless it's in incredible shape. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope I answered your questions. If you're going out looking for a Johnson reel to use as an underspin, just remember you can use just about any one of them you want. Just about, but not all of them. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one, whatever the next one may be.